Hey everybody, this is Wayne, and in this video I'm going to show you some modifications that I made to my 70-inch Extreme Flight Extra 300 EXP. Let's get started. It is a version 2, but apparently that's before they had the quick release wing lock system. I have some Skywing airplanes, and I like that they have the quick wing release, but they also have the easy servo connections. So I installed those on this airplane as well. I tried to buy them at Extreme Flight, but unfortunately they are unavailable as an aftermarket purchase. So it looks like the only alternative was to make them. My friend Michael had a Skywing plane that was in need of some repair, so he was kind enough to come over and bring with him the easy servo connections from that airplane. Michael is a sharp guy with a 3D printer, so we took measurements of the Skywing quick disconnects, and he went home and put them on his CAD program and started printing them out. It wasn't that easy, though. He went through like 5 iterations before we finally got one that works. I think he improved the design a little bit because each side of the connection now only has a single piece instead of 2 pieces that sandwich together. Had they been available aftermarket, I would have just bought them, but since we couldn't find them, we just decided to try to make them. But more about that later. The first thing I wanted to do was get the wing latches on. With the help of Antonio at Extreme Flight, I was able to order the wing latches and wing bolts. Unfortunately, the wing bolts were not the correct thread, so I got some at Lowe's that are 1/4 by 20. And that is the correct thread, and I think they're going to work just fine. I used a step drill bit to enlarge the hole in the fuselage where the wing bolt is to go. There's not enough room for the latch to go up and down like on the other models, so it had to go front to back. Perfect, but as you can see, I'm going to need a filler piece so that the latch sits flush. Even the thinnest plywood that I had was still a little too thick to use as filler, so I ordered 2mm sheets of plywood from Amazon. Looking ahead to where the servo connection was going to go, I thought about using this little cutout that was already there, but it was so far back I was going to end up cutting out more of the fuselage than I wanted to, so why cut out more than you need to? What I did was just enlarge the oval hole that was in front of it. Obviously, I needed room for the latch and the servo connection. By using a plywood doubler inside the fuselage, it made it nice because the base of the servo connection was about the same thickness as the external balsa of the fuselage, so it sits pretty flush. Using the thicker plywood that I showed you before, I made a base for the latch. I had to cut a slot to accommodate the nut that holds on the spring-loaded lever, and the thicker plywood worked out well because it was about the same thickness as the nut. I glued the plywood base to the plywood filler and then glued the entire assembly to the inside of the fuselage. I positioned the latch so that the screws would catch the most wood. I just simply used servo screws to hold it on. The servo screws were short enough that they didn't poke through the outside of the fuselage, so all is good. And now is when things kind of got stupid. But of course, looking back, my vision is better. Instead of installing the receiving end of the servo connector inside the fuselage, I should have just made that hole a little bit oversized. It's pretty easy to tell where the connector in the wing is supposed to go, so I should have just glued that in first. Then I can simply install the wing, and wherever the wing side connector comes through is where the fuselage side should go, which is exactly what I did on the other side. Once I got the location, I just put a drop of glue on it to hold it in place. Then I removed the wing. I put backer plates on the inside of the fuselage to screw into, and then secured the connection from the outside with screws. I have not yet flown this airplane, but I'm sure it's going to fly terrific. And if you have this airplane or one like it and you want to do something like this to it, I hope this video helps you or at least gives you an idea.